Hey guys, Scott Sillari here with Real Synch, and welcome back to another episode of Real Tech Talk. Today, I'm super excited to have one of our partners, Ryan Caracciolo, with Striventa, and we're going to be talking about owning your data, owning control over the systems and the tech that you have, and what it can mean, for your business from the time you generate a lead all the way to the time you get paid on a closing, right? So Ryan, I'm super excited to have you on. I know that was a broad subject, but we're going to dive into it and kind of showcase and discuss, what this can mean for someone's business. Thanks so much, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be part of the program today.
Yeah. So first, before we jump in, my audience is going to want to know, like, why should we listen to you? To give me a little bit of a background about who you are, like the business you've built and kind of how you've gotten here, I don't want to spend an hour on it, but you know what I mean? Like, just give them a little insight about who you are and the knowledge that you have and the expertise.
Yeah, happy to. I started Striventa, almost 10 years ago now, with just the sole focus of how do we help a business not just grow, but scale, right? And so at Striventa, we help our clients grow and scale by focusing on content and process, as simple as that. Everything that it takes to scale a business usually revolves around some sort of content creation that's compelling, right? To attract people in, to convert them as customers. And then what we'll probably be focusing more on today, the process side, right? The technology side that allows you to track your entire customer life cycle. So you know exactly what your ROI is over time and can pull the right levers as you move forward. So we started off as an SEO shop, just trying to rank sites, being competitive nerds. We saw that that's how everything, connected holistically and aligned, and then have just grown into an entire business growth agency with that focus on customer acquisition. So
awesome.
Hopefully I'll give you guys some nuggets today, take homes. And if not, I know a funny joke or two I'll sprinkle in.
Good. We all love jokes. So yeah, I mean, getting to obviously the SEO portion and the lead generation, but we've been working as a partner with a specific client that really needed help with their systems, their processes, their workflows, right? And if you're watching this and you're a real estate team owner and you're an agent, you've been through the pain of jumping from one CRM to another and trying to maximize and automate everything, right? And the problem is you keep running into blocks where there's limitations on this because you're using a platform that's out of the box in a sense. And we know, Ryan, that the average real estate team right now uses about 13 different applications. So it's a lot. It's a lot of logging in. It's a lot of data entry into different systems.
They probably sign up for 30 though, right? And only use 12.
Exactly. Right. So talk a little bit about like what you guys are doing with these real estate teams and these businesses that you're working with.
Yeah. And just so in the audience knows, my business partner runs one of the largest brokerages here in the Southwest for Century 21. And so being able to kind of iron sharpen iron, work, with him through their processes has allowed us, over the last 9-10 years to really understand boots on the ground approach of what it takes to run a successful brokerage in property management, real estate transactions, even commercial space. And so that knowledge, I think, has been invaluable. But most of the time what we've seen is companies have an out-of-the-box system that's real estate niche focused, right? So that's where they kind of get you. It's like, hey, sign up for this real estate niche-based CRM. But the focus isn't on the actual technology platforms and features and capabilities and ceilings. And so when we come to the table, we recommend HubSpot. I've worked in all the CRMs. They're fine, dandy, whatever. Everybody knows the spiel, Zoho, Salesforce, Microsoft Dynamics. Everybody has their own bells and whistles. For us, at least, HubSpot has been the most flexible and agile to where we can actually customize the entire system for real estate brokerage and all the little nuances, right? Understanding buyers, sellers, property management owners, tenants, commercial, and then all the nuances that exist I don't think a lot of the tech platforms that are technically in the niche space allow the expansion for all those little nuances, right?
Yeah.
Not everybody comes in on like this pretty marketing automated platform. Let's fill out this form, and then you'll get these emails, and then you'll click those emails, and then you'll want to buy a house. And like, no, that's not how it works, right? Real estate is all about relationships. That's what we all know. You meet somebody at a Starbucks, waiting in a line, and chances are they may purchase a home from you 9, 12 months down the road. So how do you control your data? How do you nurture those clients over time, give them compelling information that answers their biggest problems, and contain that all within a tech platform that allows you to track consistently over time apples to apples data, right? So
Yeah,
a little bit long-winded there, but
no. So, and the teams and agents that are listening to this, it's like, how many times have you had a conversation where you're like, well, this lead doesn't fit in as a buyer type or a seller type? That's not what this is. And I'm limited to that, right? Like, imagine if you could use your real estate CRM and not only run all of your B2C, meaning all your buyers and sellers out of there, but also all your vendor relationships, all 100%. All the different lead types, right? Like adding additional revenue platforms within that same system. So you don't have to go get a property management system. You don't have to go 100%. Get a commercial management system. You can do it all within one because you have that flexibility with HubSpot. Yeah. So
yes. Well, and let me just touch on that real quick, because a lot of times, even when we look at buyers and we say, okay, who's your ideal customer that's a buyer? I mean, chances are you have multiple buyer ideal customers. You have a new build, right, buyer that only wants a new build. You have somebody that wants some sort of niche, like in Phoenix, right? There's a historic district, right? So I'm only a historic district buyer. So how do you actually segment that data properly to track over time? And then, as you well know, I mean, a lot of times renters become buyers, of course, right? And so how do you track that life cycle of, okay, they were a renter for the first year because they moved here, and now they're looking to buy a home. How do I not miss that data when I flip them over from the managed side of it, right? Property management as a tenant versus a new buyer, right? And so all those little nuances I think are just missed out on. And those to us are all data points that you can control and scale with. I mean, not to mention, like, it's the silly stuff that works, right? It's relationships. It's a birthday campaign with a funny GIF or a funny video every year that goes out automated, so you don't have to worry about it, right? Evergreen content, buyer, seller information, how to live green and things like this, right? All these things that people want to know more information on, you have to set it up in an automated way, because that needs to be your machine, and you have to be on the front end building relationships, right? So that's kind of the focus there.
Yeah, absolutely. So with doing this for as long as you have, like, what have you seen as far as like the reduction of the amount of systems a team would have to be in when they have this flexibility, like a system like HubSpot?
Yeah, great question. And I do want to kind of point out a misnomer. I think a lot of times, trust me, and I get it, like, I've helped people go from CRM to CRM to, from one email platform to the next. So I get the struggle in wanting, not wanting to go to another platform, right? But I think the misnomer is, if I just get this one platform, it'll solve everything. Right. And chances are, you and I both know, being on the tech side, like, that's never the case. There's always a ceiling. There's always some sort of personal feature that maybe isn't available. And so you have to weigh and balance the pros and cons. And so for us, at least, I mean, we've had people that have been daisy chained on 5 to 10 different tech platforms, right? Everything from the free CRM of Pipedrive to MailChimp bolted in there. Now you have to worry about those connection points to your email platform, right? And then, how are you actually going to manage it? Well, now I got to go to my own MLS system to manage it, right? And Arizona, it's armless, right? And Flex MLS and managing clients that are there. And then, by the way, I got to bolt on to the corporate program, right? Because under this franchise agreement, they provide this website and this CRM. And so now you're basically daisy chaining multiple platforms together. And anytime that happens, one, there's always a recipe for data loss, right? Disaster, right? Yep. You're not collecting all the data points that you could on a customer to build that profile with it, right? Even down to, like, if they go to your website, like, what pages are they looking at and why? That has to build into it. So when you look at their profile, you're not only looking at the transactions they're interested in, but now you're looking at all the data points of the houses that they viewed, right? All this stuff in one platform just kind of cuts it off. Now, there's certain like texting programs that of course you have to do like an add-on, but I think with HubSpot, the difference is they can be incorporated natively, meaning you don't have to leave HubSpot, right, to text somebody from that platform, or to work it into an automated workflow. So I think that's the key difference, is not just the reduction of the tech platforms, but that even when you need to add in something because it's a nuance, it bolts in natively, so you don't ever have to leave HubSpot, right?
Right, which is so key, because a lot of these, and being in the position we're in and seeing the lack of integration still, because there's so many applications. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've talked to a client, and they're like, can you integrate with this? And I'm like, yeah.
They
I mean, are you going to want to, do you have $10,000 to make it happen? Right. It doesn't necessarily make sense, but that's what's great when you're using a platform like HubSpot, is that there are the solutions out there that you need when it's, whether it's like Twilio or SendGrid or like some of these different applications that are, not necessarily used all the time in the real estate, industry, but they're available, and a lot of people just don't know about them, and then how they tie in to a system like HubSpot, right? So,
and I'm glad you touched on that kind of custom integration, because whenever I hear the word custom, I immediately think like, oh no, somebody's gonna have to call me to build a new email template because they wanted it coded out instead of on a page builder, right? And so I think a lot of times, like especially with the real estate agents and the brokerages that are up and coming, that are tech savvy, that know it, a lot of times it's a lot of front end work, for us to set up those templates, but then to clone them, to drag and drop, to edit text, to add pictures. I mean, you can even add GIFs now, right? Embedded. That's all extremely user friendly. And so for us, like, as an agency, we also like HubSpot because we're not having like to manage people, right? Like, I'm not in this business to build something that you have to call us every 5 minutes for, right? Like, so yes, it does take a while to set up because that's the way HubSpot is. It's robust, but the beauty is then the management, you'll notice like the managed time continues to go down because as users adopt the system, it's very easy to use. So that's another key factor that, why we like HubSpot and why we set it up for teams, is because everybody's tech savvy nowadays. And that's the expectation, is to have, a good user experience, to go in and edit an email without having to call an agency. Like, that's ridiculous. Right. So
yeah, absolutely. And what's exciting about too is like, if you think about your business and we know that you get to a certain point in your business where like, all right, I know I can do this much money at these leads and generate these leads, right? Where I need to scale is people, right? And the value of people and getting good people in. When you have this foundation that you're talking about, to plug a new person in is a million times easier than it would be if it's all the other things we were talking about. So talk to me a little bit, not only about the scalability of like, as you grow, adding, new employees to your business, but also like what you're starting to see as you work with more and more teams, more and more businesses, as you guys grow, and like where you kind of see things shifting, within what we're talking about here, as far as having control over your system.
Yeah. So what we're seeing, and just to kind of touch on your previous point too, with like new personnel, new employees, like every team wants to recruit another agent to their platform. Right. And I think what we're seeing as a huge growth trend over the last 2 years, at least, is this drive and this scaling up through customer service. And so what I mean by that is, traditionally people looked at it as, well, I'm going to generate a marketing lead, and then they're going to go into a sales pipeline, and then everything's going to close, and that's fine. But this whole component of service that bolts into HubSpot as well, we're customizing it to where people are setting up onboarding pipelines for new employees with automation campaigns, automated text, right? Hey, when you move them from one stage to the next, text goes out from the team lead that says, hey, so excited to have you on the team. Here's my phone number if you need anything, right? Like, those little points in building a relationship, especially as you're onboarding, are huge. And the beauty is, as you and I both know, it cuts down the management time, right? So now we're able to deliver a personalized experience on demand while reducing the management time and scaling up teams that way. So I think that's a huge growth point that we're seeing, is the adoption in HubSpot in the service end of it, for customer service, not just for leads that have become customers, that traditional B2C path, but also your vendor relationships, your internal teams, servicing them that way is huge.
So Ryan, you're telling me you can manage your recruiting within your CRM too?
100%.
What? I don't have to go get
100%.
another whole system? Oh,
No, no,
who knew?
no, not at all. I know,
Who
right?
knew?
It's yeah. I mean, hey, you want to post up at a real estate school event and set up your booth and all that, and then go log into a separate system after that. Great, but no, you don't have to at all. Not at all. Yeah, and that's the beauty is now you're not just establishing life cycles of customers, but now you're establishing life cycles of employees and members. You're seeing what's working and not. I mean, I could go on and on about the features, and I'm not a HubSpot salesperson, but the reality is you can build out so much content on demand for your internal team that's how you build culture, right? Because when somebody's on your team, they're not going to call you at 11 p.m. They're going to be searching online, and then typically when they search online late at night and they don't ask anybody, that's how they adopt all these other tech platforms with these free trials, right? Yep. And here we go. So you have to be able to be in front of all that. You have to be able to provide all those resources ahead of time in a on-demand fashion, right? And that's a huge growth trend we're seeing that's, helping with retention and training, which does reflect in the professional service delivered, right, by your team. So
yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, because like and you really hit on it, because a lot of the real estate teams that I've worked with over the years, the whole customer experience portion after the fact, it isn't necessarily the focus of the CRM. Right? Yeah. It isn't the focus of the automation, the culture building, and what you're talking about, and having texts. It's never been the focus of the CRM, but being able to have that now at your fingertips, it allows these team owners to be like, oh my God, I can build out all of this and do all this within one ecosystem and have all the data right there to see what's happening.
100%. Yeah. Well, and what every team will tell you in real estate is everything is about relationships. So if I work with a buyer now, chances are I'm going to work with 2 or 3 of their friends or family members before my career's over, minimum, right? And so what are you doing to stay in front of that, to nurture that, to actually build a relationship, not just be a transaction by transaction team? I think so often it's like in this mindset, especially like in Arizona right now, it's a hot market, right? So it's easy to get into the sales transaction mindset. But if you're not constantly filling your marketing funnel into it and constantly nurturing your customers after the fact to rebuild into it, you're missing out on all sorts of potential business. I mean, it's completely lost revenue, right? So being able to focus in on that is just so critical nowadays, especially because you have people that were once renters and now buyers. I mean, talk to any young real estate agent that started at 22, 23. All they did was work with renters, right? They built up 300, 400 people in their database within a few months by just hammering rentals, right? Helping them get situated. As they grow over time, right? Now they're helping all those people buy $500,000 homes, right?
Right.
And I know I'm completely generalizing with big numbers, but that's the reality of the life cycle, is that if you don't control your data now, when will you? And then the flip side of that is if you don't control your data, then who else is, right? Because we'd all love to keep giving our data to Zillow, right? Said every real estate agent, never. Yeah. So like, that's just the reality, is you have to be aware of how you're utilizing the data. And then lastly, like with HubSpot, as you're tracking all this data, now let's say you want to run an ad campaign. You have your ideal lookalike audience right there in your database that you can literally take to Facebook or to LinkedIn and go find other people like them based on all the criteria that you've already collected, right? So now you're utilizing your data for future marketing endeavors. I don't see why more people aren't doing it, right? Yeah. And, it's just mind-boggling. But again, it's okay. Like I just geek out on this stuff because it's what we do, right?
No, it's awesome, man, and I love it. And I think, I think this is a direction that we've seen the real estate I've seen, and you have too, being in it for 10 years, like I have. Mm-hmm. We've seen the shift of like the independent agent with a couple assistants to a team, the team broker model. They have their own brokerage, and then they have a team within the brokerage, to where like the people getting into real estate that are owning businesses are turning into business owners, or they're getting into it to be a business owner. So we're seeing that shift. So now it's like, okay, now you're a legit business owner. Mm-hmm. You need to own your business, own your data. Don't go just, oh, I know this company can provide me and I can buy all the data from this company. It's like, no, build it from the foundation. Your data is going to be your own, and you're going to have that visibility, right? To do something with it, like you're talking about, which I think is really, really huge.
Yeah. And just to kind of touch on that too, it takes so much to generate a lead. Like in real estate, I always say it's the most competitive market online, like especially in the service industry, right? You're competing against the iBuyers, right? Zillows of the world. You're competing against all the brokerages. You're competing against those brokerages' corporate offices. You're competing against other teams. You're competing against other agents. Like I could just keep going on. I mean, you could have a relative in real estate and not know about it until they see your website up, right? It's like, geez. But all that competition, it speaks to me of when we finally get a lead or when we generate multiple leads, why would I want that to go anywhere else? Like that's gold, right?
Yeah.
And you have a ton of looky-loos. Like I hear it all the time. People pay Zillow for looky-loos. But for me, at least, if you're going to do that, you better have a database to track it in, because now they're not just looky-loos after 9 to 12 months. They're actually buyers or sellers or whatever have you. So a lot of times people focus on the front end, like how many leads did my Facebook post generate? And it's like, well, your page had 100 likes, like probably not a whole lot of leads, right? Let's be real about technology.
Yeah.
And so the reality is though, is when you get a lead, you have to protect it with everything you have. And by keeping it in a centralized database, now you're regaining strength and control over all of the other competitors in the industry, especially the iBuyers that are really starting to take over in markets, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's awesome, man. So if this is like really resonating with someone right now, like what would you say is the first steps, not only for them to like kind of evaluate where their business is at, but also like if they wanted to get in touch with you and have a conversation, like explore, potentially taking this control and ownership over their business and over their systems, like what would you recommend?
Yeah, they could go friend me on my MySpace page. Just kidding.
Don't do that. You don't want to see those pictures of Ryan.
No, you don't want to see sure people are listening.
What was that from?
MySpace
2000,
is, right?
2002 or was that 2000?
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm just kidding. No, they can contact me directly. I do, all of the scoping at our company just because, our process is much longer on the front end. We want to make sure it's the right fit. We're not just going to put somebody into a system for the sake of it. And so my email is just ryan@striventa.com. It's RYAN at STRIV as in Victor, ENTA.com. And they can just, reach out to me there. I'm happy to jump on a call. Even if we don't work together, I think what drives me is educating the business community around this, because I can't tell you how many times I've come across clients, professionals that spend 5 figures a year, 6 figures a year. Their business hasn't advanced or scaled, because they're constantly putting a toe in the water, and it's just a waste of investment, right? They hire somebody to do SEO for $200 a month, and then they're going to pay $100 a month for Facebook ads. They're going to think everything's magically going to happen. And I'm just like so tired of that, because I feel bad for the owners. I'm a business owner. And so even if nothing comes of it, I would love to have a conversation just to be an educator, to be a resource, to point people in the right direction. But I'd love to have a conversation to scope it out and to see how we could, be of service for sure.
Absolutely. I love it. Ryan, this has been incredible information and insight. And I think there's probably a lot of people out there that this is going to resonate with, that want to take back ownership of their systems and just didn't know where to turn or how to do it. Right. And the importance of it. Right. So you can see all the contact information below. Reach out to Ryan at striventa.com. And Ryan, I appreciate it so much, man. Thanks so much for sharing your wisdom and knowledge about what's happening within the space right now,
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Look forward to any other segments where I could be of service. It's a lot of fun. So appreciate it, Scott. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for watching. Again, this is Scott Sillari with Real Synch. And this has been another episode of Real Tech Talk. And we'll see you next time.